Welcome to Talking Funny Cars, and boy, do we have a special guest today, Mr. Mike Neff, crew chief, driver, bottom end guy. You've done it all, so welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah. First things first, Mike. You know, you've had a storied career, and you're still in the mix, and you have a lot of years left in you. There's no doubt. But you know, we want to know how you got started. So let's go back to your childhood in California, and let's talk about how you ended up at the racetrack.
I grew up in Hemet, California, and was good friends with Larry Miner's sons, Chris and Larry Jean. And Larry was at the time heavily involved in drag racing. He actually had like the first multi-car top fuel team that I'm aware of. He drove himself, Gary Beck, Ed McCullough drove the funny car, and even Shirley Muldowney drove for him back then. So I raced the desert trucks with his sons, Chris and Larry Jean. So I knew Larry and was always around him. And one day I was at his house at his birthday party, and he asked, "How would you like to go top fuel racing?" So I was like, I thought about it, and I was young. I didn't really have anything going. I was in my early 20s, so I decided, why not? Get a chance to travel around. So that's when I got started. That the end of '91, he put a dragster together with Cruz Pedregon driving it, and that was the very first time I went to a drag strip, more or less.
Yeah, cool story. Larry Miner, what a legend. And what was the first job?
Bottom end. Yeah.
Bottom end,
clean the oil pan, the whole, started at the bottom, and just slowly worked my way up from there.
So bottom end guy to driver to crew chief. Well, really crew chief to the driver. Ladies and gentlemen, just goes to show you that you can start on the bottom end and make it all the way to driver and crew chief. Don't forget that. So, boy, what evolution. So Larry Miner, bottom end, and I'm sure you did other jobs on that team. And then obviously one thing that I noticed in your career is every time that you moved somewhere, you did a good job at moving up. It was never a lateral movement. It was always up to the point where you're at now. So let's talk about that. What was your next step?
Joe Gibbs took the team over in, I believe, '95. And, I did, built short blocks for, a few years, and then, got an opportunity to, start doing blowers. And I was kind of always interested in the tuning part. So I would just kind of started to think about that and kind of role play that, and just curiosity, just wanting to learn, just kept, so when opportunity arose, I was, always able to, take advantage of that. And that's ultimately going to work at Don Schumacher's in 2001 with Whit Bazemore's car.
Yep.
Lee Beard was there. I was kind of like the assistant on that car, and kind of started to learn more working with Lee, and then got the opportunity the following year when Jim Gennard with Oakley brought out a second funny car that Scotty Cannon first drove that following year in 2002, and I was the crew chief on that car. So that's when I got my first real start.
So would you say Lee Beard was truly your crew chief mentor? Is that who gave you the basic fundamentals to move over to that car and get it down the racetrack and have a shot at winning?
Yeah, I would say so. Yep. I worked with Lee. He was also at Larry Miner's for a while there on that dragster. So I knew Lee, and then that year with Bazemore, Lee was he was a great teacher.
Yeah, that's cool. Very smart. Tons of experience. So Scotty Cannon and then Gary Scelzi. You and Scelzi had an incredible amount of success. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, that was an exciting time. I mean, Gary's a character. Probably still to this day, one of the best times I've had racing was him. We were, young back then, and had a real good team and just a lot of fire, and had a good race car, and started. Got competitive and ran good and set the speed record several times, and our performance was there. And ultimately in 2005, we were able to, win the championship and end John Force's 10-year reign that he had going. So that was what made it so exciting, is, trying to beat, John Force and those guys, and we had some great races, and it was exciting times.
Yeah. Took the king off the throne.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. Now we're driving for John Force Racing. Tell us about that rookie season.
Yeah, that was you know, an exciting time, you know, to get the opportunity to, you know, to drive it after working on it all those years, and like the last piece of the puzzle to, you know, see what this thing actually is all about and what it feels like was, you know, I'll never forget, you know, that experience the first time you hit the throttle in it, as you know, that, you know, the acceleration, and, you know, it's just hard to believe that something can accelerate that fast and not, you know, be breaking the tires loose, is what I remember getting my attention. So, yeah, just, you know, being up there trying to cut a light and do all the stuff that a driver has to do, you know, certainly not as easy as it looks, you know, and trying to, you know, not make a mistake and be late and have a good reaction time is, you know, harder than it looks. So it was challenging and exciting, and definitely one of the best experiences of my life for sure.
Yeah, cool. First time you hit the gas, how long did your foot stay on the gas?
The first, I ran it to 330 feet and shut it off, was planned, and then we made one more, ran it to 330 feet, shut it off, and that was my first couple runs. Then we went to Vegas and tested there before the Vegas race, that latter year of 2007, and I think I made 6 or 8 runs there, and then we entered the race the next week.
Let's go racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was off. We were off.
So when you went from, you know, sitting at the desk and making the calls to the seat of the race car, you know, did you often think about what was going on with the car, and do you feel like it maybe affected the way you drove the car?
It was hard for me to drive it and not. It's like I didn't want to know anything about it. If I wasn't, you know, tuning it and know what's going on, it's better for me to just worry about the driving and be confident that it's going to go down the racetrack. Because, you know, if I was, you know, I knew enough to know that maybe if there was something we were going to do that I didn't think was going to work, then I didn't want that to be be in my head. So, but when I got the opportunity to tune it and drive it, that's when things really started to click for me.
2010?
That was 2011.
2011.
So I drove in 2008 and 9 with John Medlin was my crew chief, and then we parked my car in 2010, and I tuned Force's car with Austin and Bernie that year. We won the championship, and then the following year, Ashley got pregnant and stepped out, so I took over.
Understood.
Racing that car. So
2010, Austin Coyle, Bernie Federley. Sitting in the trailer with those two guys.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that real quick, because that had to have been not only an incredible learning experience, but, man, 2 characters.
Absolutely, yeah. It was quite an honor. 2 of the greatest, you know, there's ever been, in my opinion.
Yeah, great.
But yeah, I mean, we never missed a meal. I mean, we hit every breakfast, lunch, and dinner with those guys. They love to eat. So, but yeah, just, you know, their knowledge and the history, and it was just, you know, we just had a great working relationship. We all played our part, and everything, it worked out. And, you know, that was a fantastic year, and just, you know, once again, another, you know, one of the best years of my career, being a part of that. Yeah,
mentorship. So, you know, tuning Selzy's car, then driving, and then, you know, help tuning John's car. So you worked with Lee Beard, you worked with Austin Coyle, you worked with Bernie Federley. I mean, you worked with some incredible people, right? So then you go back to driving and tuning in 2011. Were you taking all that information from all those people and combining into one and tuning that car? And I want to talk about that success, because I specifically remember that year.
Yeah, certainly, you know, you learn little different traits from people, and maybe the way that, you know, some people, you know, deal with some things and their view on others. And yeah, that's kind of what you do. You know, you kind of, you know, take you know, the best or what you believe in, and kind of go from there. So yeah, the 2011, that was you know, that was another, you know, one of my best years, I would say. Was, you know, the year I got to drive again, which was great, and then I got to tune it. And you know, what helped there is we had a good car. I basically got in the car that John was driving that previous year in 2010. So so being able to do it, tune it, and drive it myself, that was a really good experience for me, because I believe, whether it was right or wrong, I believed that I was doing the right thing, and it was going to go down the racetrack. And I had a great crew, great group of guys, and you know, they made it real easy. And the way that, you know, John had his whole program set up, it made it easy for me to do that. And and we had, you know, all of our funny cars ran great. So you know, it was a lot of fun. We, you know, led the points all year, and won some races. We won Indy. So yeah, that was a really, reflecting back on it, that was 2011 and 12 were probably two of the best years of my career, for sure. You know?
I remember that Indy win.
Yeah,
that was a big deal, right?
Sure.
Yeah, tune it, drive it, win Indy. You know, that experience of, you know, tuning and driving, right? So there's two people that stick out in my, you know, in my mind over the years of, you know, wanting to get where I'm currently at, along with, you know, being a fan also, is you and Tim Wilkerson, right? I always think of you two guys as the two guys that prove that you can drive one and tune one. What did that look like between rounds? Because drivers always have their thing, and then crew chiefs always do their thing. So what's it look like between rounds if you're the driver and the tuner?
Obviously, you got, you know, another responsibility there. But like I said, the way that I had it, it was structured. You know, I had some great help, you know, guys taking care of the car and that. So I didn't have to do, you know, a whole lot of the hands-on, just kind of make some calls and, you know, and then, you know, worry about driving, you know. But that was the kind of the hard part, reflecting back, was I wish I would have paid more, or feel like if I'd have worked harder at driving, I could have been a little better at driving. And that's kind of ultimately where it ended up when I decided to stop, was I kind of felt like I couldn't really do either one as good as I would have liked to do either one. And it was just timing. It was time to get out. So, you know, like I said, it was great times. Robert Hite was my teammate and a good friend of mine, and we had a lot of fun, you know, racing together and just talking about it and living it, you know, together. So it was an exciting time for sure.
You know, the piece for you that I think that you really have a ton of experience in would be the team, right? Because you started at the bottom. You know, you've worked your way to the very top of being a top tuner in the industry, but also a winning driver. So you have a full understanding of how important the team is. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, the team is everything. You know, you have the obviously the parts and, you know, all the proper equipment, but, you know, getting the right people in the right place, and the chemistry, and everyone to, you know, be working towards one goal, you know, and being able to have, you know, each guy doing the same thing every time and giving you the information that you need, and everything's accurate. And without that, you being a crew chief, you could be the best crew chief out there. And if everything's changing on you every time you go up there, it's going to be like, you know, hitting a moving target. So, you know, the team, you know, getting everybody in place and just doing the same thing and being on the same page, and the communication, so that car is the same every time you take it up there. There's no variables. That is the most critical part. To, you know, if you can have a car that's prepared the same every time, the job of being a crew chief gets a whole lot easier.
Yeah, you know, I don't think some people quite understand. Yes, it's important to have great race car parts, but the importance of the assembly process, where would you rate that? Like, so you got the tuning, you got the driving, you have the race car parts. is it number 1, 2, 3, or 4 assembly wise? Like meaning making sure it's getting assembled correctly, where you would rank it.
Yeah, I mean it's at the top because you got to think about these guys take this entire engine apart, all 8 rods and pistons come out, change the clutch, restrip the blower, put fresh heads on it, and then change everything and then put it all back together. So you've got all those different parts, and all it takes is one of those to get out of place or not be the same as before, and it changes everything. And we adjust the head gaskets by the thousands. Here we adjust the clutch weight by 1.5 grams. You know, we adjust tire pressure by 1/10 of a pound. So, I mean, you look at that big loud thing and think that thing's a beast, but that thing is so fine-tuned that just every little thing that you do to it affects it. That's the incredible part about it, how just touchy and how everything just has to be right with it, or one thing can trip it up.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that a head gasket that's 1/1000 thicker or thinner can completely make the difference. I mean, it can make the difference between a great run or the thing being on fire.
Yeah.
We both know that.
Yeah, I mean, you're watching the weather, if the air temperature changes by a couple of degrees, you're making a change, or if the water grains go up by 5 or 10, you're changing, so it's just so many factors go into it that's, I believe, what the real key is, to have all that right, and then everything else kind of falls into place after that.
So you're mentioning a lot of words, or a lot of your words right now are crew chief words, right? So, when you were a kid, you did desert off-road racing with the miners. Right. And then, you grew up and now you have your own family. You have a son, you have a daughter, and, you and your son have a unique relationship, and now your son is doing something that you did however many years ago that was. Let's talk about that, because there's some tuning there as well.
Yeah, that was honestly always my dream after we racing with the miners, and when we were out of high school and the desert trucks, that was just always something that was like, man, that'd be my dream to do that. And once my son got to be 16 and we're in a position that I bought a truck, and we started about 10 years ago, started racing the desert stuff, a couple times a year, and that's been, once again, some of the best times of my life, to be able to experience that with my son and my friends, and go out in the desert, and you're racing for 400 miles, not 4 seconds, so just what that takes, the endurance, the preparation, and all of that is that's definitely one of the best things that I've ever been able to do in my life, is experience that.
Tuning crossover. So you got 400 miles and you got, give or take, 4 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So is there any knowledge that goes back and forth? Have you picked up on things from both different types of racing and converted them over and made an impact?
Well, there's not really a whole lot you can do to the desert truck. I mean, it's suspension, but you have people that set that up. You go, test, and they, set all the suspension up, and the motor, we raced the spec trophy truck class, so the motor, you didn't really do much to that. So there really wasn't a whole lot of tuning. It was mainly driving and, and the preparation part of it, having the truck live, not break, being able to finish. So that was a different type of, scenario, which was, it was a nice change.
Yeah. So you and your son, you guys are having some incredible success, and the Mitt 300 is undoubtedly one of the highest levels of racing in that category. I think you guys have won it a couple times.
Yeah, we won it in the 7200 class, and then we won it in 2020 in the 6100 class. So yeah, we love the Mitt. I love that race. The Vegas, the day before, the contingency and all the trucks, and just the history of the race. Yeah. Goes way back into the 60s, I believe. In fact, Larry Miner, I believe, was the first one to win that race in a Jeep back in, I forget the year, but him and Parnelli Jones and just the greats that have been a part of it is It's a great race.
That's cool.
Great American off-road race, I
Yeah.
call it. So.
Oh yeah, it's incredible, you know. And then to do it with your son, you know, that's just cool. Does a wife and daughter go too? Do they go?
Yeah.
Or they let you guys just go do your thing?
No, they come along, but
Yeah.
most of the time, you know, you're roughing it, you know, so they don't
Yeah.
they don't like that. Quite
It's a
as
different
well, so.
environment out there, that's for sure. It's not like NHRA drag racing. NHRA
Right.
drag race is pretty luxury
Yeah,
compared
back
to
to
the
the
men.
hotel room every night. Yeah.
Here, Mike Neff, and yes, it's time for the Funny Car Fast Five, brought to you by Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. Mike, let's get straight into it. Your favorite funny car driver of all time, and it can be you if you're your own favorite.
It's not me. That's got to be John Force.
Oh yeah. I understand that. I think all you viewers understand that. And your favorite track to race funny car on?
Sonoma. I love that
beautiful.
facility up there. It's beautiful. Up in the hills. So yeah, that's probably my favorite. And that's where Gary and I got our first funny car win. So it has a little sentimental value as well.
Good memories. And your favorite funny car of all time? That could be any. Tuned, driven, set in the stands, whatever it is.
That'd probably be my 2011 year, the Castrol funny car that I drove. Just, you know, having that Castrol on there that John Force had all those years. So to be able to, you know, drive that car, that was an honor.
Yeah, I can understand that. Your favorite funny car race of all time? Could be the driver, could be the tuner, could be a fan.
It'd have to be, you know, winning Indy, I guess, for me.
Final round Indy?
Final round of Indy, you know, It just doesn't get any bigger than that. And just that feeling and to be able to accomplish it, that was, you know, it's hard to beat.
I can imagine lighting the top bulb Indy in the final round going, man, don't mess this up.
Yeah.
Yep, I understand.
Waiting for the lead up to that and just wanting to get going. Yeah, I can still remember those nerves today.
Yep. Describe what it's like to drive a nitro funny car in 15 seconds or less.
It's like being shot out of a cannon, you know, that just doesn't stop. It's just the acceleration, you know, and it just keeps pulling until you take your foot off of it. It is pulling as hard as it did at 200 feet. That's the real trick to it. It feels like if you don't lift, you're going to end up going 500 miles an hour. But
that's right. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Neff, thanks for coming on the show. We all learned a lot about you. Special thanks to Doc and Bubba's right here in Monton, Pennsylvania, for allowing us to film these special episodes of Talkin' Funny Cars. Please tune in for all the Talkin' Funny Car episodes of me, Buddy Hall, YouTube, and the NHRA Fast Channel. We'll see you next time.